Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our show. I know it's been a while, but things have been busy at the house. So, when I last left you, we were looking at installing the rest of the insulation, and that's what these images are, complete with a thermal imaging camera that I got to play around with to take a look at how the insulation appears both on the wall and through the thermal imaging. After we installed the insulation completely in the rest of the house, we sort of went wall by wall and we covered it with this vapor membrane called Intello Plus. So you can see the ceiling and one wall is done there. And it is semi permeable. And so the intention of this membrane is to allow any sort of humidity from inside of the structure to not stick in the wall and cause mold. Um, in order to use it properly, you have to use it everywhere. And so we've got wool tucked around each window and all of the openings, including the door. And then we tape over it all the way around. And this would be in place of something like spray foam. It's a natural alternative to sealing gaps. And then we've got this lighter blue tape around the window, which has to be cut really carefully to make the corners. And we did a pretty good job of it, I think. That goes everywhere that there is a hole. And we've had to handle openings in the wall in a variety of different ways. Here you can see around the wheel well, we actually have used spray foam. And that's because the other side of this spray foam has some exposure to the outside elements. And I did not want to run the risk of anything getting wet. We get a lot of disasters at once here. 60 to 70 mile per hour winds take down this maple tree in front of the house of a friend of mine and take out his power. I go over there one day to process the rest of it into firewood because I have another partner who needs firewood this winter, and we've been burning his firewood outside all summer in a campfire pit because we haven't been able to go indoors due to the pandemic. So we load up this van, we bring it over, and then the smoke comes. I'm in Tigard. It's really smoky. There are forest fires around Portland. We are not in an evacuation zone, and we are a pretty urban residential area, so it's unlikely that we will need to evacuate, but the air quality is terrible. I feel like I'm living inside of a campfire. So I'm taking a long overdue vacation to Idaho for a few days, and in order to do that, I had to pack my car. So I did. And here is my 12-volt fridge and freezer. And I did not have a 12-volt car charger attachment for the car charging port. So I wired it up to a Bluetooth thingamajigger. This thing that I cut off of the end of this, which goes into the car charger, and then connected them together, and I have power on my fridge. It's working. Oh my god. Basically a hot wired a car, you guys, so that I could run away from a disaster. This is what the sky looked like as I was fleeing Portland, and this is what it looked like in Pocatello, Idaho, where my friend lives. I got to hang out with so many dogs, and I got to go outside and breathe air, which was a major bonus. After the smoke cleared, I went back to Portland. We started reinstalling the electricals. We had to cut a gap in the Intello Plus and put in a plastic box so that we could install the electrical panel. And that's what you see here. This is just a little bit of cleanup of some screw heads. Thought it was a neat picture of sparks. And here is an overview of the entire house, all buttoned up with Intello Plus and stitched everywhere it needs to be stitched, wrapped around the loft. So I have spent a couple of months trying to seal every hole in the house with this membrane. And that includes openings to the outside where I've used a green goo to sort of close the gap, and then also around the wheel well, which is what you see here. Also note that underneath the Intello is 2 inches of foam insulation around the wheel well. My handyman looked at me one day and he said, "Why haven't you finished the loft floor yet? I think it'd be a lot safer." So I did. We finished building the cutout as well, and that required tying it into the ceiling with this unistrut structure that I installed. Lots of fun, that I'll tell you. And then, of course, we had to product test it with our full body weight. I have covered the floor on that side. Here's the secondary loft, still not finished quite yet. I cannot tell you how excited I was to finally stop fucking around with the electric and get to the water system. This is where the hot and cold water will be turned on and off in the shower. And then everything is done in PEX. And that attachment is for a shower head wand. And then the actual main shower faucet will come out of the ceiling, which is going to give the maximum amount of head height in the shower possible so that hopefully even tall people can shower in my house. Over here, we've got this sort of chaos and these attachments. And I designed this so that most of the attachments would not be covered up by wall paneling. This is all going to be under a cabinet and so it'll be accessible. And so water will go under the sink into a tank right there, and valves will turn it on and off depending on whether I want to be on city water, or I want to be pumping out of a tank, or I want to be coming in from a rain cistern. All water will enter the house from an opening in the back through those PEX pipes. And then behind that wall is where the on-demand propane hot water heater is already installed. This is not quite ready to go yet. These attachments, the blue and red, are going to go to an outdoor shower, and we're not there because this piece of blue piping is still in a giant circle and will need to be cut at some point and then wired to the outside. We're trying to keep as much of the PEX inside the house as possible to minimize freeze damage. Finally, the end!